Hey, hey, welcome to the show. I am not Gianni. He's somewhere around here. We never know. He might pop in, he might not. But it's me, Tiff, your girl, and I'm joined by Jack Alfonso. Jack, say what's up to the people.
What's up, y'all? Let's go Heat.
Hey, thanks for tuning in on your Thanksgiving Eve, your day before you eat a lot of things and regret it the next day. So thanks for tuning in with us. It was a good win, Jack. It was a good win, and honestly, that was a win they were supposed to get. So I love the way they looked at games where no, you're supposed to win this game. What do you think?
Y- Yeah, totally. I mean, Bam's out, Kevin Love's out, but like you said, Cavs are coming off a back to back, a tough back to back at that. So I don't know. The Heat have been rolling. They got to start stringing these wins together.
Mm-hmm.
This is what 9 of 10 right now.
Yep.
So they're rolling right now. I think we saw a lot of good things from people stepping up, specifically like the non-rotation bigs stepping up, like Lando and
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Bryant. And then I think we saw a lot of good things from guys who are in the rotation who
Mm-hmm.
got a lot more usage this time. I think we texted a little bit about Caleb got to work some stuff out. He's kind of been
Yep.
out of rhythm, and it's been nice to see him. I do just want to start off by
Mm-hmm.
reading off this Duncan Robinson stat line just from the
Yes.
first half. It's my favorite Duncan Robinson thing ever. Zero
Okay.
points, zero rebounds, zero assists, zero steals, zero blocks, 0 for 2 shooting, three fouls, team leading plus 17. That's my guy doing it with defense. Who would have thought?
Who?
Look at
Well,
us.
I mean, look at us. I will say I am I'm enjoying Duncan this year. And you know, I I love Duncan, but there's one thing I don't love about Duncan and it is not basketball related. So I will not go there, but I will look who's here or not. All right, Jack, I'll continue.
Okay, just keep
uh,
pushing.
yeah, no. Duncan has been extremely different this year. Duncan has, eh, we can see this is where preparation and hard work and all those things meet at the corner. And it seems like he's put it all together this year. And I'm enjoying it. It's not just the threes. He's taking people off the dribble. He's getting to the basket. He's still making the extra passes. Oh, okay. Come on, G.
Listen, I'm at an undisclosed location, uh, having fun. I can't say. I'm looking at you, Alex Toledo. I'm looking at you, Greg Sylvander. I'm looking at you, Ethan Skolnick. I'm looking at you, all you hater ass motherfuckers, all you bitches out there
Who are you
talking
yelling
shit
at?
about
Who are
my
you
guy,
yelling
Who
at?
about
you?
We're not
my
here.
Hall of Fame point guard. I just want you to know, I'm saying this on Tiff's postgame show on Al Gore's internet, that you guys owe that fat ass an apology. His BMI is worth more than your net worth, and you apologize to him and his fat ass. Okay? Now, I'm gonna go back, and I'm gonna go get fucked up and listen to great music. I just wanted to let you know that I have my eyes on this team, and I got my eyes on Kyle. And I just want to know, best player on the floor. I'm sorry to prodigy Evan Mobley. I'm sorry to prodigy Darius Garland. I'm sorry to. I can't believe they compared Donovan Mitchell to Dwayne Wade. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Kyle Lowry's a Hall of Famer. I'm out.
Donovan Mitchell
He
didn't
said he
play.
had his eyes on this team. He
He,
did
he,
not watch
he
the
didn't
game
know.
tonight.
And
No.
I'm like, and I'm whispering, Donovan Mitchell did not play. Like,
Yeah.
pay no
So
attention to the man behind the curtain. What was I? Duncan. Yes, Duncan has been killing it. That's where I was until all of that happened. G had his gold chain on. Look, looking like a reject from the movie Casinos. What's happening over here?
Late Chase Agenda's commissioner said G cutting in live from an illegal yoga speakeasy.
So just we're gonna get into it really quickly now that G has done his thing and has moved on. Um, let's talk about the fast start and what enabled the fast start, which we know it's Kyle enabled them to get out to that quick start. What did you see that you liked from Kyle tonight?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle was incredible. I mean, it was obviously the shooting was there,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps to set the tone with it was like 3 very quick threes. I think he finished with like 4 in the first quarter, finished with 7 for the game. That was huge. I thought he was pushing pace well. I thought
Mm-hmm.
he was a huge part of their defensive effort, especially with Thomas Bryant as the starting center, and I think he played well,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they helped him a lot by, kind of sending timely help,
Right.
on those, like, Mobley post-ups because I think they were trying to attack Bryant early on, and whether it was the wings or Kyle, I thought they just played smart team defense to kinda make up for maybe some of that defensive hole they had against a pretty huge front court. I think
Mm-hmm.
Mish was a huge part of that as well. He was a huge part of the quick start. I would say it was him and Kyle, um, just like doing things defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Then, yeah, I don't know. It seems like he just picks these games to go off. Like Kyle with like 4 bench players is better than LeBron. I don't know.
I mean, it is. It really is. It's funny because with in conjunction with the fast start, we have to talk about the ball movement because it seems like we're surprised, but we have to be realistic. There's been so many points within this team the last 4 years where all we saw was the ball sticking,
Yeah.
right?
I think, I mean, I think there's multiple parts of that. Obviously, Kyle's a huge part of that, but he's
Mm-hmm.
been in the lineup. I don't think he's ever had a problem with like letting the ball stick. It's the wings. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's internal improvement with Duncan. Duncan's moving the ball better. Um, I think Jay Rich, he's gotten some shit on this podcast, maybe deservedly, but I really like how he's been playing on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
I think like if you look at this collection of like 4 or 5, 6 wings, everybody's bought in.
Mm-hmm.
Jaime, when they're up like 30, still looking for the extra pass to Caleb.
Yep.
They're swinging it. Like there's just such good chemistry with this group, and
Mm-hmm.
there's such an unselfishness where like you say the ball's not sticking, like I can't name a player who it would stick on. Like even with Jimmy, like
Mm-hmm.
and we can talk about Jimmy. That dude's a troll. I'm not happy with it. I texted you mid game that I'm
Yeah.
sick of him. Um, but yeah, he was moving the ball well despite like kind of the bad shooting.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess what do you chalk it up to other than just kind of internal improvement in chemistry? Like everybody
I
looks
think
good.
I think you hit it on the nail when you said everyone's bought in because that's what it really takes me to be happy to see you shoot
Yeah,
for this to work. And everybody's got to be happy for the next person. And that's the only way. And also knowing if I give the ball up and I work into space and I get myself open, the ball will find me again.
totally.
So it's that confidence that they have in each other. It's the ability to want to see other people shoot because you have to share the ball. That's a willingness to want to see other people in the offense. And I think that because everybody has bought into that, it's easier to buy into the defense.
And they've bought into the defense. I
Yeah.
mean, to your point on offense, like it's that they've bought in, and I think it helps them overcome.
Mm-hmm.
This sounds weird, but like overcome hot starts because I think sometimes players can start hot and
Yep.
then they fall in love with themselves a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
because we have a team of streaky shooters,
Right.
you can't have that. Like if
Mm-hmm.
Caleb starts 4 of 4 and he falls in love with his shot, that's a bad thing for the rest of the game. No
Right.
offense to him, I just any of those wings, any of those players, but like
Mm-hmm.
I think you saw multiple players get hot. I think you saw Jaquez.
Yep.
Maybe he went like 3 of 3 from three. Like he was looking good. Um, and I think he was still looking for the extra pass. He wasn't like abandoning the offense. 4 of 4. Somebody corrected me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think that allows them to kind of overcome or kind of prevent shooting slumps because they're swinging it around so much and because it's so unselfish. And then defensively, like you said, like everybody's moving like
Mm-hmm.
all the time, and you've got athletic guys on the wings there. And I'm including Duncan in that. Like
Yeah.
he looks quicker, he
Yep.
looks more dynamic. And I honestly, I think more than anything defensively, it's Highsmith for me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think it all starts with his energy,
Yep.
where just like every single time he's guarding somebody, he is trying to poke the ball out.
Yep.
And that's a
It's
Jimmy thing too, and it stretches beyond everybody.
it's interesting because I was wondering what it was going to look like with Bam. Then we find out Bam isn't playing, and then we realize we're getting Bryant and we're getting Hamish, and the physicality is the one thing for Bryant that he's not that physical. He has a tendency to get bumped off his spot. Um, and the thing with Hamish is that he's just not as tall as the other guys because he has
Yeah.
everything else. He has the physical tools to keep up with them, but it's just the height that he doesn't have. And they did a great job. They got in there, they boxed out, they stood up straight. They did a really good job, and I'm pleasantly surprised that they were able to um, kind of keep the Cavs forwards off guard. If you
Yeah.
know what I mean, as far as like with the switching in the defense and all those things, because we're still small. That's the funniest thing. Nobody wants to talk about it, but this team is still small. But now they just don't play small.
Yeah. I think it's the quick hands too, just in terms of like that spacing for the Cavs was in disarray, like at multiple
Mm-hmm.
points, because the Heat were just keeping him off balance. Like anytime
Right.
Mobley caught it, they were sending another guy at him to try
Mm-hmm.
to like jump on the ball. And it, most of the time that kind of stuff doesn't work, but like it's not about getting the steal. It's about setting them off balance. It's about sending guys moving. And then you have like three Cavs players bunched up here. The spacing is awful. Mobley
Right.
doesn't have good positioning for his post up. And then like you just have guys continuously flying around. And it's hard to like make any sense of that. It's hard to find a passing lane, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to ISO on that. And it makes up for like what you said is a very small team when you have the bigger guys continually off balance. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
negates the size a little bit, and it keeps people out of the paint a little bit, which kind of helped, I think, Bryant close out some of those possessions with rebounds.
Right. Um, just quickly, we do have to touch on Jaime. We have to because every game he's showing us something different,
Yeah.
and it's not. He's like you're not gonna just look at him and just get blown away because he's not dunking every other time. He's not James Harden with the crossover. He's not doing all those things. Um, that guy he's skilled, he's steady, and even though we still don't know yet what the ceiling is, because we have no idea who this guy can be, but for right now, he's the complete player that they need for right now, which means he still can get better. That I will never put a cap on him because I have no idea. But for right now, he is the complete player that they need. Just talk a little bit about like the holes that he fills for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think again he adds to that like wing depth and adds something very specific that maybe the other wings don't have. I think he's a pretty tremendous ball handler,
Hmm.
both in terms of just pure skill, which is nice. We knew that coming out of college that he could handle the ball. Like he was a huge on-ball player
Hmm.
at UCLA, but sometimes that doesn't translate immediately.
Right.
He doesn't turn the ball over often. He doesn't try to do too much too often. we've talked about this before on the pod, where it's just like he knows what's he knows what's being asked of him at any given moment, and
Mm-hmm.
he's very willing to do that thing, which is nice. Like he knows
Right.
his limits, he knows what he needs to do, and he's not the kind of guy where, like, again, he had 22 points, that was a rookie high. Honestly, I would have loved to see him play a little more out of control in that fourth
Right.
quarter, because just like, why not? You're up 30, like, work some shit out. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I love that that's not his game, that he's like playing within the team. Yeah, I think he just kind of brings kind of a like a normalization off the bench a little bit. Like,
Right.
obviously this is not a point guard deep team. So when Kyle Lowry comes off the floor, like, you kind of go got to go by committee with who's handling the ball, and he's
Mm-hmm.
been a huge part of that. Um, I think in terms of a scorer, a penetrator, a guy who can kind of create for you and create for
Mm-hmm.
others, he just gives you multiple looks there. I think, we don't know what he can be, but he flashes things every time. Like, I think today we saw him kind of beat some people off the dribble, which was nice, which is like maybe the big knock against him, why he didn't go super high in the draft, is people didn't think he could do that. I
Mm.
don't know if he's going to be able to do it consistently, but
Right.
he's doing it enough for this
Mm-hmm.
Heat team right now. And then the back to the basket stuff, I think, is tremendous.
Mm.
Like, even when he's not scoring, which he's shown he can score and score through contact, he had that little and one there. He
Right.
usually looks good there. But like, what's more important there is that when he gets his back to the basket, he's scoring is like the second option always. He's
Right.
looking to create 3-pointers, which is what Spo wants him to do. So like, this team is always going to be a team that wants to chuck 3-pointers with streaky shooters. That's Spo's MO.
Mm-hmm.
But like, being able to get inside more and go inside out is
Right.
just going to make that way more efficient.
Right. And he's so decisive in his movements.
Yeah.
He knows what he wants to do. There's no fumbling around with the ball. There's no holding it until there's 3 seconds left. He gets the ball and he's right into his move. And that's the one thing, like, where I say he's still a young guy, but that is such a veteran thing. Because a lot of vets don't do that either.
I mean, we've seen it with this Heat team. I mean,
Right.
we've had so many wings who, we've talked about the ball sticking. Like, the ball doesn't stick with him. I mean, let's talk about Bam, and this is not a shot at Bam. I love
Mm-hmm.
Bam, and he doesn't do this as much anymore. But like, he had to learn over the course of multiple years what to do when he got the ball.
Mm.
That processing had to speed up a little bit
Yep.
in terms of like, am I making the pass? Am I like looking for kind of the DHO action? Do I
Mm-hmm.
just need to take it off the dribble? Like you said, Jaime's way more decisive with that stuff early on. That doesn't mean he has the ceiling that Bam has, or like
Right.
is going to get where Bam's going to get. Like, there's a clear
Right.
difference. And it's not to say Bam doesn't have that like basketball IQ. Clearly he does. Um, it's just this very specific offensive thing that the Heat specifically needed right now,
Mm-hmm.
and that most rookies aren't able to provide. And he's been able to provide that in like tenfold. It's been great.
Right. And I just want to say quickly, I see in the chat. So Hamish finished with 5 assists. That's also something that's been surprising me about his game. He's not a scorer. So I feel like
Yeah.
people who get mad when he's not scoring should realize he's not. So whatever you get from him, that's the icing on the cake. Whenever he scores, that's the extra. It's the other things that he can do on the court. Because I really had I didn't have any idea that he would be finishing each game with 4, 5, 6 assists every night. He's literally looking to make the extra pass, which you didn't have this last year. Like, these are the things that where we kept saying we need wings to do certain things. Now we have guys that can do all these little things.
Yeah. I mean, Highsmith's, I've seen some criticism of him here and there, where like, obviously he's not scoring as much. I think the threes, when he gets them, they look good. They're
Yeah.
nice. But I think, like you said, he's making the extra pass. The the thing I've really liked from him that I did not expect from him at all is when he catches the ball on defense, like whether it's through a steal or defensive rebound, he's pushing it
He's
and he's
gone.
not out
Yeah.
of control with it. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of guys who are the kind of like gangly and like long defenders like that, not to say he's like a, an amazing offensive operator in transition, but he's in control enough and he's
Right.
smart enough to like when he gets the ball and he like starts moving, I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like it's going to be a turnover. Like it's
Right.
not going to be the most like marvelous play in the world, but like he can score off of that. But more often than not, it's just moving the offense forward.
Right.
It's getting like a 5-on-4, and it's just getting that quick advantage and keeping things moving, which is, I think, like what you said, we've needed wings to do stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And like while he's not like I've kind of like balked at like the PJ Tucker or Jay Crowder comparisons just because I don't think he fits that role. And I think that's a
Right.
good thing. I think like
Right.
the Heat need to move on from that. And I think we're seeing what that looks like, which is more of a committee thing
Mm-hmm.
and just more versatility around the board. And
Yeah.
he's a huge part of that.
But they're rounding into something. Like
Yeah.
and you can see it slowly but surely, like something's happening. Um and I really like I don't know if anybody ever watched like Star Trek or anything, but they're starting to become the Borg. And if you don't know what the Borg is basically like it's millions, but it's one. So it's millions of people, but they all share one hive mind. And like tonight, they literally all looked like they had one mind. They were all pushing and fighting in the same direction. And that's hard to come by with this team on a nightly basis.
Yeah, especially for players who aren't getting minutes. Like
Right.
I know a couple of people in chat have been talking about Orlando Robinson defensively and offensively. Like he definitely had some short moments where like he would like switch on to Darius Garland and quickly be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh no, I can't
Oh
do
no.
that. Like let me get back." But like overall, like he played like he's been practicing with this team, which is a stupid thing to say. Of course he has been, but like
Right.
he's part of the Borg. Like
Right.
the people who are not playing are still assimilating. Like
Mm-hmm.
and Bryant's part of that. Like I think Orlando Robinson's going to get a ton of love, and I think it's nice. Like I think we should start thinking about him maybe eventually being in the rotation eventually.
Right.
Bryant's been nice too. Like I don't want to like he had some of those classic Thomas Bryant moments, but
Right.
like he's playing Heat basketball as
Yep.
much as he possibly can. So like
Yep.
everybody's bought in despite their like physical limitations or whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's not like a person on this team when they come on the floor where I'm like, "Oh god, this guy's going to like
Right.
just like take it and play hero ball." No pun intended. Um he also I feel like has bought in. We just haven't seen him in a while.
Right. um, one more thing on this game. We got to talk about it. Jimmy trolling.
This guy. Sick of him. I'm convinced he was missing some of these shots on purpose. I don't know.
I'm convinced he's resting.
Yeah.
Like there's just nights where he's on the court, but he's literally that guy that showed up and said, "I didn't come here to work." It's like he's that
Yeah.
guy.
He's like, I'm not going to jump this
right.
game.
I'm not gonna jump. I'm gonna shoot it, but remember, I'm not jumping.
Yeah. And it shows in those jump shots. But it's nice that they're able to survive that. Like I do think obviously just having Jimmy on the floor playing 10% is a huge advantage just because
Mm-hmm.
he's got some of the best hands I've ever seen from a
Right.
defender. And I think just the gravity it attracts, I think especially in that first half,
Mm-hmm.
people were sending everybody at him. Like
Yep.
and it would have been hard for him to score, but he was like taking that Mobley matchup and he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
doing much with it, but he was getting
Right.
rid of the ball. He was moving it well. I don't know how many assists he ended up with, but I think maybe like 9 or something. Like he was swinging it just like
Right.
everybody else, which is nice. Like he's definitely a troll though, and I'm sick of it. Like I think he did kind of go into this game not just going like I'm gonna rest, but also like I'm gonna piss some Heat fans off tonight. I'm gonna make
Right.
Spo a little mad at me. I'm gonna make like Cam a little mad at me. Like I'm gonna go
Uh,
1 for 5 from three just to kind of like get everybody to shut up about my 3-point shot.
right.
Like,
Because it's interesting. Because I guess the idea would be like, there's no such thing as rest now in the NBA. Is that what's happening?
yeah,
Like, I don't know. So for Jimmy, this is his rest.
less than 30 minutes. Nobody
Hmm.
played more than 30 minutes,
Right.
which is huge. And then him, I think he ended with 27 or so minutes,
Right.
second most on the team, but behind Jaquez. Like, that's nice. Sit out the fourth quarter. You didn't really work that hard in the first 27 minutes you were in the game. So, like, he needs that. I mean,
He
we know
does
he
need
can turn
that.
it on
Right.
when he needs to. And it's nice that like it's nice that this game didn't get close at any point because I think you would have seen him kind of press a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And like whether that works or not, it's just like I think, you and I and like and Bon and like everybody's of the same mind where it's like at this age for
Yeah.
him, the less you see that, the better. As magical as it is, we saw a couple 30 games like during the 30-point games during the win streak.
Right.
I just don't want to see that. Like
Yeah.
not in
Right. I don't
November.
either. I don't
Yeah.
either. All right. So we're gonna look ahead really quickly. Wh- Which of these three games will Jimmy have to turn it on? So we have Friday Knicks, Saturday Brooklyn, and then I think Tuesday. I think Tuesday or maybe Monday. Either way, it's the Bucks.
I mean, do we think Bam's going to play all of these games?
I wouldn't be surprised if they try to let him rest against the Knicks.
Yeah,
If
that's what I'm
because I don't
thinking.
we don't really know the severity of the hip, but if it's bothering him enough, then why even
Yeah.
play?
Also, you got the win here, so maybe you just kind of like it is a tournament game though.
It
And I don't know
is.
if they care about that, but I care about that. And we're in a race with the Bucks right now. They have the point differential. We're
Right.
2-0. We got to beat the Knicks here. Um, I think that's the game. He's gonna have to turn it on. Like I think Bam plays well versus the Bucks. Obviously, Jimmy plays incredible versus the
Right.
Bucks, which is so like I would I guess mark either of those two games. I think Bam specifically plays really well during the Nets against the Nets historically.
Hmm.
The Claxton matchup's kind of hard, um, but I think I just don't see Jimmy turning it on for that game as much. I think they can get the other guys going.
Hmm.
I liked what I saw from the Heat last Nets game, and yeah, sorry. Somebody said Randall is going to be listed as questionable with itis.
Itis.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, maybe they just roll over the Knicks. Maybe those guys are tired. They got a little too
Right.
much turkey in them. But
Um.
yeah, I could see that being a game where he has to go for like 28.
So we're at the point where we've pretty much faced everybody in the East at this point almost.
Yeah.
Who worries you at this point? Because it's still early, so this is just based on the small sample that we have right now.
I mean, my answer before this season and my answer now is going to be the same, and it's probably going to be the same later on. It's the Celtics. It's
Hmm.
only the Celtics.
Yeah.
I look, the Bucks are going to figure it out. Like the Dame Giannis chemistry isn't quite there yet. It's a
Hmm.
long season. They'll figure that out. But the Celtics are rolling. That's the rivalry. That's been like what the East has gone through every
Hmm.
single year outside of 2021. Um, we haven't really have we seen a full strength Heat against a full strength Celtics yet? I don't did
No,
Porzingis play in our game? Yeah,
no,
so
we haven't.
I got to see what that matchup looks like.
Right.
Like I think I've seen plenty of arguments that I kind of agree with that this new look Celtics front court is kind of, and it was built by the front office specifically with the Heat and
Oh yeah.
Bam in mind, like the Bam matchup in mind, is like
Mm-hmm.
Bam having to guard Porzingis, which means either Jalen or Jason isn't being guarded by Jimmy, and then you just don't have turnover city there.
Right.
Um, at the same time, it is a smaller front court kind of without Rob Williams. Horford's getting a little older.
Right.
I could see it kind of backfiring for them, and then a new look Bam kind of eats
Mm-hmm.
their lunch a little bit, but
Right.
I just don't know until we see it. What do you think?
I definitely will say Celtics, but I think the idea is, and I'm going from last year's playoffs, while they kind of built that to be able to be combative with Bam, what they didn't realize is that, yeah, so Jimmy has to pick up someone, and I am waiting patiently to see both teams full strength with Hamish and
That's true.
I literally just blanked on his name, just that, and Brown.
Brown.
Like I want
I
that.
mean,
I
that's
want
the
that.
X
And
factor.
yes,
I think everybody on the like Heat side wants that
like
because that dude has hands. Like,
and he has the length, and he has
yeah,
everything that bothers Jalen Brown. He has the strength, he has the length, and he has hands. He has everything that bothers Jalen Brown. And we got a small taste of that in the playoffs last year. So I'm looking forward to that. But I want to ask you a question though quickly though about Milwaukee, because I think offensively, yeah, they'll figure out a lot of things that they're struggling with now. But here's the question that I keep saying: it's the defense that's
yeah,
letting them down, and the difference is that they don't have the defense to be able to quote unquote hide Dame or quote unquote hide the other starting guard. Like they just don't have that. And if you don't acquire it and you don't have the skill set, it's not happening. And a lot of people were saying, that Dame is washed and all these things. The East is just different. The way
yeah.
that the styles are played, it's defense first with most teams in the East. And so every night, Dame is getting somebody's best every single night. And he's having to guard all these people. He's having to fight through screens. He's having to do a lot of things that I'm not going to say he didn't really have to do, but, you know, Portland was more about how many points can he get them. They weren't really concerned about his defense. But if he's in the East, his defense has to ratchet up a notch. And I just don't think that the Bucks have the team around him that can him or I can't remember who the other starting guard is. He's also awful on defense. I just don't think they have enough around them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think, somebody in the chat just said
Yep, it's Beasley.
maybe
It's
Malik Beasley. Yeah,
yeah.
also not kind of the most amazing defensive player. Um somebody said Caruso for them. That's nice. I don't know if it solves their issues. Obviously Caruso is an incredible defender
Right.
and like would help things a lot. Um but like it's not a good defense trying to get great. It's not even kind of like a mediocre defense trying to get good. It's a bad
Mm-hmm.
defense trying to get very good. Like that's the
Yeah.
bar they need to be at because I don't
Yep.
think the offense is going to be so amazing that it keeps up
Right.
with. Forget us for a second. Keeps up with like the other teams in the East right now. Whether we can like build on this offensive momentum, whether Bam can, whether these wings can, and like keep up with things and take advantage of that defense, that remains to be seen. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling optimistic about it. But yeah, I mean, even if you look past Dame and Giannis, like you just look at, and everybody's kind of seen this from the Bucks for the past couple of years, is like they've had incredible defensive personnel around Giannis,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Brooke Lopez, who's been a perennial. Sorry, just got to say, John Crotty doesn't know what the word perennial means. and he said it today. He said perennial when he meant proverbial.
Yep.
Just have to put a pin in that. Moving forward, Brooke Lopez has been a perennial defensive player of the year candidate. Chris
hmm
Middleton's been kind of a notorious heat killer and great two-way guy. Both those guys are old as hell right now.
Yep.
Like they're not getting younger either. So like that's the other thing is like Dame is great. And I think Dame is going to add a whole new element when they start to figure things out to their offense that's going to be legitimately really hard to beat and impossible to beat some games. But do those other guys have enough left in the tank? And do they have the roster around them um, to make up for all the other deficiencies? Because
Right.
I don't love Drew. I thought he was a little bit of an overrated defender, but certainly there's a huge gap between him and Dame.
Right.
And yeah,
Well,
I don't know.
that's the thing. Look at it in terms of like what Drew's willing to do. For instance, Drew was the one that was willing to take the challenge and guard Jimmy
Mhm.
last year because nobody else stepped up to the plate. And of course, yes, everybody thought, oh, Drew got cooked. Well, I mean, one, he's smaller. And two, Jimmy was just on such a roll. Let's not act like how many teams did he leave in his wake on the way to the finals? Like everybody got cooked by Jimmy. So it wasn't just Drew. But I feel like you gave up, you know, I get what you thought you needed, but you gave up the steadiness of a guy who can score, but more importantly, who's a team guy who plays great defense, who played great defense for your team, who's willing to take the tough matchups. Um, so it's interesting because while you had someone who already got over the hump with you, you thought you needed, you know, I guess I'm going to say more of a scoring punch where maybe you could have gotten it somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, but also like I think also teams maybe in working things out, and every team's going to kind of discount the Heat a little bit, except for the Celtics, who will respect the Heat more than the Heat respect the Heat. But
Right.
like you kind of look at the math problem they did with
Mm-hmm.
like we've got to kind of outscore Jimmy. We have Giannis for Jimmy and stuff, and we've got like kind of Brooke playing drop or whatever. Um, I think if Bam continues to grow the way we've seen him grow game by game as an offensive player, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's getting to the line, the jumper looks better, just picking his spots better, being a little more decisive, like we were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
like that's a thing these teams haven't accounted for. And
Yep.
like if you have Giannis guarding Jimmy, like Brooke is not at the stage of his career and Bam's at the stage of his career where that's Daniel Tice to me.
Yeah.
Like you're eating.
Yeah.
And like you send Giannis at Bam and then it's Jimmy going for 60 instead of 56. Like so I, I think again it's really early in the season and like Bam's got to continue to work on this and continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and everybody's got to stay healthy and stuff. And we'll kind of see what that looks like. You know what this team looks like in March or so. But like, if Bam is what we think he is this season, the math has changed for all of
Yep.
these matchups in the East in a way that like I don't know if there's a quick answer on the trade market for the Celtics or the Bucks to solve that.
Right. No, I agree 100%. I also think that um, the first time since the bubble, they got bodies. And when I
Yeah.
mean and you know exactly what I mean. They got bodies. So when Giannis is doing his I'm barreling to the hole, the Heat have bodies. Now they got players they can rotate through. So they got three or four guys that can be on him on a nightly basis during a 7 game series.
Yeah, I mean, it's versatility on both ends. Like they've got, and again, I don't want to be like singling one guy out because it's all of them, but I think J Rich is like the perfect example of like how many bodies they got. Because like
Mm-hmm.
he's not number one, he's not number two, he's not even
Right.
number three or four. but
Right.
he's there. He's fighting hard. He's
Yep.
making better decisions on both ends. Like the shooting is, we know J Rich. It's going to be there or it's not going to
Right.
be there. But whether it is or not, like he's not making dumb decisions on offense usually. Like the shots he misses or air balls, they're usually good shots.
Mm-hmm.
And then defensively, he's fouling less. I think he's constantly committing, which is
Yeah.
huge. Like, I wouldn't feel bad putting him on kind of one of these better star players just for a couple of minutes,
Mm-hmm.
or just having him like fly over to switch onto some guy. Cause like, I don't know. Again, we saw this team going up 30 plus, and I saw J Rich flying across the floor, like
Mm-hmm.
helping and stuff. And that's part of the buy-in. And like that translates to the playoffs because that kind of commitment can lead to a lot of like
Yep.
overcommitment or mistakes. And the more you do that now, like the more things move on a string and the more like you sending those bodies over
Mm-hmm.
like doesn't result in like an open lane or like a stupid reach and foul or
Right.
whatever. Like you said, they've just got guys to send, which we couldn't have said for past Heat teams.
Right. And to kind of wrap this up, the matchup that Heat Twitter wanted that they did not get. I mean, they got it, but they didn't get it. Max versus Duncan. Did they just like look at each other and just like shiver? Like
I don't.
we did
I
not get the
was.
shootout that we thought we were getting.
I don't know. It was kind of tough for me, and don't get mad at me. I thought anytime George Niang took a three, I was like, oh, look at Strus go, and like I'm just not watching that closely.
No, you're not. You're not.
But like,
It.
yeah,
I honestly thought the like I figured at some point the wheels would fall off for the Cavs, considering they went to double overtime last night.
yeah,
But I thought they would at least have a little bit more to start it. So I thought, Max would get more touches in the beginning just to get some, get some shots up. But like once you saw they didn't have it, it never came. And usually if you're gonna play a double overtime, you're not gonna get it the next night. And you're short. You're without 3 rotation players. So it was never they if it was going to come, it was going to be the first quarter. If it didn't come then, it
yeah.
wasn't coming.
I think Bickerstaff clocked that too. Like
Mhm.
in terms of like how early he took guys out. Like
Yeah.
you kind of felt like they were only down like 21 or whatever going into the fourth, and like that's a winnable game.
Yep.
Sometimes,
In the
especially against the
NBA it
Heat in the
is.
fourth quarter. In the end, that's the thing. Like people talk about the Heat blowing leads, and they do blow leads, but like 20 points in the NBA now is really kind of nothing.
Right.
Um, and but like, yeah, I think they clocked that they didn't have it quick. I didn't think Strus looked bad. I just, like you said, it would have had to come early and they would have rode that wave. There really just wasn't a time for the Cavs to kind of get into the game. And like, I don't know. I'm like really happy for him overall. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, I think he only had like 6 points or
Right.
whatever, but like, it seems like he's kind of been a leader for that Cavs team. Somebody said he looked annoyed with his team tonight. Fair enough. Like
I,
maybe he
I
needs
think
to
he
be,
did because
but
I
like,
think he wanted to get off. He wanted to get off about 10 shots, 10 threes at least, I
yeah,
think. And I get it because, this is your ex and you want to like show out. But I feel like where a lot of people kind of like they miss the quietness about it. Like he's averaging career highs in every statistic this
everything.
year, and
Yeah,
I think he's still leading the team in minutes also. Like he is,
he's been great.
yeah. He's been what they've needed because they've kind of looked like the Heat this year, where nobody's healthy.
Hmm.
So they put these wins together basically with straws because they haven't had a consistent starting lineup since the first game. And they figured out little ways to get wins and things like that. But you know, he's one of the guys, and somebody said they're happy that Max beat the allegations that he's a system player.
Yeah, I mean it's nice. And I think specifically talking to Cavs fans over the offseason, he's exactly what they needed. Just they needed
Right.
somebody to take threes, let
Yeah.
alone make them.
Right.
And like he takes threes, and like I don't say that in an insulting way. Like he's making them this year, and he's made them historically at a good rate. But like it's almost more important to have a guy take threes.
Yep.
If that
Yeah.
makes it. You just need a guy who is like there, the defense cares about, and like if he catches it and he's open,
Right.
he's gonna launch it. And like I think Cavs fans have been shocked, like pleasantly surprised by his versatility. Like, he's had a couple highlight reel plays, like the defense is solid for them. Like he's exactly what they needed. I don't know. I think he was a little like annoyed with Jason Jackson though today in the pregame interview. Maybe that was just me reading into it.
I
I think
didn't
he
see
was
it. I
like,
didn't see it.
it was kind of really loving where Jason Jackson was like, Max, we miss you. We love you. And then Max was kind of just in a mode where it's like, all right, I kind of want to kill y'all though. Like, like get away from me. Like it's like a weird, like
It's the weird dynamic.
phenomenon to interview somebody pre-game and shoot around as the opposing team's media, So
Right.
he's like,
Right.
I don't want to think about y'all right now. Like y'all aren't my friends. I don't know. But like he seems focused this year. Like I
Yeah.
think I think people saying like the annoyed thing, like I'm sure there's truth to that, but like more than anything, it's like vocal leadership, like
Mm-hmm.
making sure people are like when they lose by 30, that it's not just like a second night of a back-to-back. What are you going to do? It's
Exactly.
like, hey, like can't happen.
Yep. Yep. No, I agree
Yeah.
100%. All right. So on that note, where do we go? Where do we go this weekend? 2-0, or do we split?
It's Knicks and Nets.
Knicks and Nets.
I say we go 2-0. We're winning this
2-0?
Knicks game. We're winning this tournament.
All right.
Bucks better watch out.
All right.
Yeah, I think we're capable of 2-0.
They are definitely capable of winning both games.
Last year I would have said they split though.
I think they get it. I mean, you go in there and play like you played tonight. You get both of them.
Yep. I mean,
That's
the
pretty
guys.
much it.
Yeah. Want to say quickly before we hop off, shout out to Pokey Sticks who mentioned in the chat that they just had a daughter. And the Heat are 2-0 since the birth of their daughter.
Oh, congratulations.
So let's keep it rolling. Let's make it 4-0.
Keep having those kids, Pokey Sticks. On that note, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Gianni is somewhere with his shirt unbuttoned and a thick ass I sell cocaine gold chain on. I don't know what's going on in his life, but he's celebrating Kyle Lowry somewhere. So everybody enjoy your holiday, eat a lot, rest a lot, tell somebody next to you you love them. Take care. Good night.